How a Romance Novel Saved the Galaxy by Ariana Derarte. Chapter 21, Bandamere, Part 5. Holden contacted Klata soon after the bomb was revealed, explaining the situation and suggested they search the mines for more boxes with broken circles on them. She came back several minutes later to say that Jin and Xanatos had come roaring in on speeders, lightsabers out before the heavy fire from Xanatos forced Jin into the mines. Klata didn't want to send anyone else in there with the volatile Jedi and former Jedi, but she would go herself once Holden arrived. They sped up the ship to a speed that would have probably had Bandamere's authorities worried if they kept track of such things. But first they paused to toss the ion bomb out into the ocean. If it went off soon, it wouldn't do the planet any good, but at least the salt water would corrode the components eventually. Holden found Obi-Wan back to soaked bandages wrapped around his neck and sprinkled liberally across his body, waiting at the door where the Verde and Faye were gathering to be ready to disembark the moment they landed. There were a number of methods that Mandalorian Boar developed to try to keep their technically adult at 13 Ade out of battle. None of the ones he could think of would keep Obika in the ship, so he decided to try out a more Jedi suggestion.
Obika, is it the Force telling you that you need to be out there, or is it your own feelings?
He asked. He vaguely noted Faye turned towards them, startled, but kept his attention on Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan grimaced.
I don't know. Master Qui-Gon needs help. But does he need yours?
Pressed Holden. Faye came up. We have a few minutes before we arrive. Let's meditate on the question, Obi-Wan. He and Faye faced each other, then closed their eyes, oblivious to the eyes of all the Verde on them. They were coming in for a landing when they both opened their eyes. Obi-Wan turned to him.
You need to know that Ionite can stop electronic instruments inside your armor. Anyone who has vital life support gear in there shouldn't go.
Since Holden was working for the home planet mine, he knew about the new and very profitable vein of Ionite, which had been found in the mines after the explosion earlier this week, but he hadn't made the connection to it shorting out their gear. Volk was nearby. The Twi'lek started culling some of their Verde from the group. They might all have to be ready to pull off their boucher if their heads-up displays and comms went down, but they'd take that chance.
I'll stay up top and help with the evacuation,
said Obi-Wan. Not that that would save him or anyone on planet if there were ion bombs scattered about, but Holden figured it was better than having him down in a mine facing a Darjetti and Jin. We will meditate together more when I return, said Faye. Obi-Wan smiled at her.
Yes, Master.
They landed in the open space near the mine entrances, the exhaust from the ship knocking over the speeder bikes which had been left nearby. Klata was there, looking grim. Ah, Master Faye. She looked to the rest of them.
Volk Fa of the two Mandalorians, said Volk. We're here to help, free of charge. We'd prefer not to be blown up.
Klata had probably never seen so many Mandalorians in one place, and more were coming from the other two ships which had to land further away. You're not going to all fit in the lift tubes. They hold only 10 per tube, and most are occupied bringing the miners back so they can evacuate the upper levels. I tracked Xanatos' lift to Core 6, which is our lowest mine. He overrode the lift with Virta's access code, she said sourly. Virta was essentially her second-in-command.
Xanatos stole it?
Asked Holden. No, she said. Virta gave them to him, along with letting him ship his equipment and bombs all over the planet. She said it was for the good of Bandamere and a man. I've locked her up. She looked them over. 9 of you and I should go down. A second group can follow, but no more than that. The tunnels aren't that wide or large. Faye was obviously in. Holden easily got the nod to go from Volk, and the others, with little grumbling due to the urgency, sorted themselves into 2 groups for the lifts. The rest were ordered off to help the miners streaming out of the other lifts. Obi-Wan went with them. Holden hoped the Kata watched over him. The lift down was crowded and not well lit. They exited to total darkness, lit only by the distant glow of lightsabers further down the tunnel. Klata cursed under her breath and dove for some nearby controls, neatly flipping on a light attached to her shoulder so she could see. One of the Verde stayed to guard her back, while the rest ran towards the fighting, Faye somehow in the lead. The distant lightsaber fight was moving fast further away from them. There was a change in the air pressure signifying they were in a larger tunnel when the lights blinked on. Jin and Xanatos were exchanging blows amidst boxes of supplies, equipment, and explosives against the walls. His Voda opened fire on Xanatos. Well, some of them did. Holdan would forever treasure the startled look on Jin's face when several stray shots came towards him at once, perfectly singeing parts of his robes and crisping more of his hair since his lightsaber was occupied fending off Xanatos. Some hit Xanatos as well, but his black clothes seemed to absorb most of the damage. Rather abruptly, both of their lightsabers turned off. Faye lowered her hand. She must have used the Force to power off both lightsabers.
Enough of this, said Faye. Whatever is between you two should not be condemning an entire planet to death.
Xanatos laughed. It's Qui-Gon who is condemning this planet, Master whoever you are, not me.
Master Faye, perhaps you've heard of me?
The brief look of dismay crossing Xanatos' face said that he had. For a long moment he turned to glare at Qui-Gon, then he abruptly placed his lightsaber back on his belt. Your reputation precedes you, Master Faye. He directed a charming smile her way that fooled no one. What brings you to Bendermere?
Freeing your slaves, said Faye calmly.
Yes, I had heard about that little kerfuffle on the mining platform. It's a shame what my hot business partners were doing. You claim to know nothing about it, asked Jin, a rather un-Jedi-like look of anger on his face. Nothing at all, said Xanatos lightly. He walked over towards another box against one wall, though he stopped when the storm of blaster fire at his feet gave him the verdict. Really now? He directed his winning smile at the verdict. I'm just disarming the bomb. Wouldn't want the mine to blow up while we're all in it.
Stay away from the box, said Faye.
Why would you plant explosives so close to the ionite vein? Asked Kleta. You stood to make a profit as our business partner.
It was a pretty stupid plan in terms of off-world profits, come to think of it. Just for you, Lady Kleta, I will explain.
Kleta made a face at the title.
Xanatos struck a pose, gesturing at one of the walls where a faint vein of ionite was visible in the rock. I have agents who have been buying stock in the ionite mining mission on Far Out Station, whose price has been plummeting due to the finding of new ionite veins on Bendermere.
Which you told them, said
Kleta flatly. I merely told some of the members of my company who passed on the knowledge to my competitors. I'm hardly the only one of us with an information leak. He gave Kleta a sympathetic smile, as if Virta's betrayal had nothing to do with them. Soon after the explosion of the home planet mined in ionite vein, the prices of Far Out's mining venture would skyrocket, and I, or rather off-world, would be a majority-owning member of their company, the only major source of ionite in the galaxy. Alas, all for naught now. If you let me disarm the bomb, we can all be on our way.
Why involve Jin? Asked Locke.
Oh, that? Purely for revenge. I imagine the look on his face when he was trapped down here, unable to save the mine, miners, or himself, would have kept me warm at night. He gestured to where a camera was indeed hanging from one wall, though how much it worked at any given moment must depend on the ionite. All the Verde were grouped in the center of the mining tunnel to prevent their electronics from going out. So the bombs aren't real? Asked Senem, one of Holdan's Vode in green and blue armor. Oh, the rest of them are real as well, just not set to explode. I'm going to repurpose them for asteroid mining after this, said Xanatos with a smirk. You think you're going to walk away after this? Asked Jin. Holdan reluctantly had to agree with him. I have done nothing more than distribute legal explosives for mining across the planet. You attacked me, said Jin. You've been following me around since you arrived on planet. It was self-defense. You kidnapped Obi-Wan and sold him into slavery, said Holdan with a growl. I think you'll find that little Obi-Wan passed out at the Agricor facility and woke up on the mining platform. I wasn't involved. You had his lightsaber, said Jin. Holdan had to admit the Jedi had a point. Xanatos shrugged. Found it. No idea where it came from.
You just admitted to planning to kill Master Jin and blow up this mine,
pointed out Faye. Now a true look of ugly rage crossed Xanatos' face. He deserves it! You don't know the Qui-Gon Jinn I know, sneered Xanatos. Holdan snorted. Yes, we do. The man's an asshole. He killed my father in front of me! I'm unsurprised, said Loke. Sounds like Jin, chimed in one of his Vode. Holdan smirked at how offended Jin was looking.
That what mitigating suck-up,
Jin began to say. Regardless of Jin, those miners don't deserve to die for your revenge, interrupted Faye.
When Jin left me alone on Telos 4 with my home planet in the midst of war, and my family dead, I turned my father's failed governorship and company into a profitable enterprise. Off-world is thriving, and so is Telos 4 under my rule. What are a few miners compared to that? A war your father started, shouted Jin. A war I ended, and would have done so soon enough if you had given me the time, shouted Xanatos right back. You were supposed to not let it start in the first place. If you had, you'd be a knight by now. Xanatos went for his lightsaber again, but Faye stepped in between Xanatos and Jin.
I see why you failed, she said to Xanatos.
Faye's face was cold.
You learned the worst lesson you could have learned from Qui-Gon Jinn. You follow your own will over the will of the Force.
The flash of anger on Xanatos' face made him ugly. You are a slave to the Force and to the Jedi! He cast his hands out as if there were anything to see other than mining equipment and a dingy tunnel. I'm master of all I see.
You are master of very little, least of all yourself, said Faye.
Holden kept his blaster carefully trained on Xanatos' hands. The ridge on his face said he was seconds from pulling it.
This is what the dark side does, said Faye sadly. You care for nothing other than yourself, hurting others in pursuit of your goals. And your goals are such sad things, just profit and revenge.
My goals, said Xanatos, taking a step back from her and drawing himself up to his full height, are magnificent. He jumped backwards towards the wall, which turned transparent at his touch and allowed him to leap through. It closed before any of them could react, but remained transparent long enough for them to see it held the second concealed lift tube. Jin and Klata went to try to get through the door, while Faye turned her attention to the box with the bomb. She easily used the Force to open the box. Holdan saw the timer had less than 1 minute.
Put it against the wall,
he suggested. Faye pushed it there with the Force right up against the ionite vein. It stopped counting down. They all breathed a sigh of relief. The Verde in the back began rushing back up the tunnel towards their original lift. Vogue ordered them to try to intercept Xanatos at the top. Kara had the Force had Obi-Wan mention the ionite and its properties just so Holdan and the others would remember in time to stop the bomb's countdown. Faye knelt down in front of the bomb, which was still being held against the wall with the Force. Sweat appeared on her face. Holdan got the impression that this was actually a lot more difficult than anything else he had seen her do. After a few moments, pieces of it began to detach, separating into a cloud of separate parts. The core went to her hand, while the rest went to the floor, still against the wall. Holdan remembered to breathe. Faye got up and handed him the core of the bomb, giving him a squeeze on the forearm above his vambrace in reassurance. Those of them left down below rushed back to the other lift, even though they knew the chances of catching Xanatos were futile. Holdan wondered if Jin knew all his Vode were pointedly ignoring him. Only Klata was willing to stand next to him in the lift going up. They opened up on organized chaos, the other Verde still directing the last of the miners out of the lifts. One of the speed bikes was gone, and a panting Obi-Wan stood near it, an unlit lightsaber in his hand. He headed for them once he saw them, and Holdan took the time to look him over critically. No missing limbs or even burn marks. Obi-Wan must have held his own against Xanatos.
I tried to stop him, he reported when close enough. Master Faye, Master Jin.
Faye smiled at him. Xanatos' failings will catch him up soon enough.
Yes, it's a shame you couldn't stop it, but it's to be expected, said Jin. Then he had to leap to the side as a blaster bolt hit where his feet were.
Whoops, said Vogue.
Sorry about that. Master Mojo must be acting up from the Ionites. What exactly have I done to so offend the Mandalorians?
Asked Jin quite testily. They were saved from having to answer by Salsua, one of the Verde in green, brown, and red armor coming up the Vogue.
Incoming cover the Mandalore, Adladad. He says he and our main forces are on their way, along with some of the Jedi. They can divert to Bandamir if backup is needed.
Vogue looked around.
I think we're good here. We'll head back to Madigam for rendezvous.
Salsua nodded. He also said Jin should check his comm,
she said. To his credit, Jin didn't bristle at the casual order from a foreign leader. He patted down his robes before finally withdrawing a battered comm. He walked over out of everyone's way to read and watch them. Some of the Verde went either back to the ship or to help calm the panicked miners. Cleta headed for her people as well. Volk, Holdan, Faye, Obi-Wan, and Salsua remained.
He actually said Jin should check his cock and come, said Salsua casually.
Volk sniggered quietly. None of them could hear what was being said, but the hologram that appeared was much shorter than normal. Faye nudged Obi-Wan to get his attention.
Yana is very disappointed in him.
She leaned in to say conspiratorially. How can you tell? Asked Obi-Wan.
It's all in the position he holds his stick. He was much harder to read before he got it, but I suppose back then he was so adorably cute he could get away with anything.
Obi-Wan gave her a doubtful look.
I've got the hollows to prove it. Remind me to show you,
she said with a grin. Jin cycled through an awful lot of messages, though not all were hollows. Finally, he returned to their little group, a puzzled look on his face. Obi-Wan, your aggregate assignment is cancelled. You've been asked to return to the temple when you can. The council said your boar is welcome to come as well, though I don't know what that is.
Holden couldn't help a surge of excitement when he heard that. He glanced at Obi-Wan, but realized the Attica didn't know what boar meant either. Still, there was a lot of relief on Obi-Wan's face over being free of his Agricore assignment.
I've been ordered to return to the temple and to avoid any Mandalorians along the way.
Jin sounded utterly baffled as to why. Holden hoped. No one told him.
Jin turned to Obi-Wan again. I owe you an apology. Initiate, I should have reported you were missing to the temple immediately.
It's all right, said Obi-Wan without hesitation. It carking well wasn't. Holden was seething. He thought that the Jedi at least knew they were missing an ad.
Faye placed a calming hand on his shoulder. The Force tells me I will be traveling to Mandalore if you will have me,
she said to Vogue. That was the dream of many of their birthday.
Of course, Vogue said. You and Obi are welcome. Me too, asked Obi-Wan. We don't send Ade off alone on dangerous transports, said Holden. We'll go back to Yam and figure out how to get you back to the temple from there. Obi-Wan nodded. All right. Thank you, Holden.